Hello, and welcome to the Daffodil Project run by New Yorkers for Parks. We are a nonprofit organization that advocates for quality open spaces for all New Yorkers.
The Daffodil Project began in the fall of 2001, immediately after 9/11. We worked with New York City Parks to bring 1 million daffodil bulbs to public parks all over the 5 boroughs, and the bulbs have bloomed in memorial ever since. Each fall, we distribute free daffodil bulbs to any New Yorker who's willing to plant them in a public space. To date, 7.5 million bulbs have been planted by tens of thousands of volunteers citywide.
Now that you've received your free bulbs to plant, let's go over how to care for them and get them in the ground.
First, you'll want to store your bulbs in a cool, dry place until you're ready to plant. Bulbs should be planted before the first frost if possible. The first frost, of course, does not have an exact date, but in our experience, we find mid-October to early November is the best time to plant. If you plant them when the weather is still warm, the bulbs might start to sprout, so it's safer to wait until temperatures have cooled somewhat. You might think it seems strange to plant something before the coldest temperatures of the year set in, but daffodils will bloom best after a cold winter.
Once you're ready to plant, find a well-drained area of soil that gets direct or at least partial sunlight. If the area you want to plant in seems to be very dry or excessively wet, it's probably not the ideal spot for bulbs. If you are planting your trees, you'll want to give the bulbs at least a foot of space away from the base of the tree, since the roots will compete for nutrients and water that your bulbs will need.
You found your planting spot. So now it's time to get the soil ready by adding organic matter like compost if you can. Even if you can't add compost, decompacting the soil with trowels helps a ton. To do that, you can use the edge of your trowel blade to chop up the soil until it becomes nice and loose. Loose soil will drain better and ensure that the bulbs can get oxygen too.
After your soil has been prepared, you can plant the bulbs in holes 6 inches deep into the ground, leaving about 4 inches between each bulb. A good rule of thumb is that the blade of your trowel can be used as a ruler for how deep to dig each hole. You can dig a hole 3 times as deep as the height of the bulb as well. Once your holes are dug, you can place the bulbs with the pointed side upward and the roots downward. Each hole has a maximum capacity of 2 to 3 bulbs. Once you've placed the bulbs in all of your holes, you can cover them with soil. Feel free to get creative and have fun with how you plant. Because they can be planted fairly close to one another, daffodils can be planted in trenches or in any pattern that you like.
Generously water the bulbs, then cover them with mulch if you can. Mulch helps provide a layer of insulation over your bulbs for the coldest temperatures of winter. They like it cold, but some need some protection from the harsher temperatures. If you don't have access to water or mulch, don't stress. Daffodils are one of the more resilient bulbs and will survive even without these added benefits. If you can't get traditional mulch, you can always add a healthy pile of fallen leaves on top of your planting area. They will act as a natural mulch and are generally free of charge. If you like, try to schedule your planting a day or two before predicted rain. That way the weather will naturally help your plants.
As winter recedes and our temperatures warm up, you will start to see the green leaves of your daffodils peeking through the soil. If you can add compost in the early spring, that's a great boost for your bulbs, but again, they will bloom just fine without it. As the spring sets in, your leaves will grow taller, and soon your daffodils will bloom. The bulbs distributed by New Yorkers for Parks are a naturalizing mix of various species of daffodils. This means you'll get daffodils of different shapes and sizes that bloom at different stages in the spring. Some will bloom early, when it's still fairly cold, and some will bloom once the weather is more consistently warm. Naturalizing means that they will reproduce slowly over time and bloom year after year. After your daffodil flowers have withered, you can cut the flowers from the stems, but do not cut the leaves.
The last step in caring for your daffodils in the spring is to cut the leaves once they all have turned yellow. This means they have gathered all of the nutrients they need to bloom next year.
Still have questions? Feel free to contact the team at New Yorkers for Parks. We hope you enjoyed the daffodils every spring for years to come. Happy planting!